Hey, y'all. Welcome back to another episode. Black Women in Business, the Dirty Truth. In case you don't know, it is Wednesday night, and we're coming to you at the end of February, and we could not let this month go by without Dayna. Get you some calm. It's dope, y'all. I talk about it all the time. It saves my life here in Tampa. Saves my life. But we couldn't let the month go without talking about an African American during this Black History Month that has impacted the world. And I know for me personally, I love hearing about our usual heroes, right? We talk MLK is always talked about as he should be, Rosa Parks, like nothing to take away from them. We love them, their guidance, their wisdom, and all they have done.
And Brother Malcolm.
Yes, Malcolm X, all of them for our communities, y'all. All of them are communities, and even those that are present day, doing all of the things to make sure that everyone has a platform to stand on, a place to feel welcome. But through an interesting situation, I came across somebody I had never heard of. My son was doing I Ready for School, and he was listening, it was reading, listening to a story, and I was not paying attention, but he wanted me around. And this lady came up, so it perked my ears. So we're going to be talking about one that is underserved, and she just happens to be hailing from Dayna's home state and city, which, y'all, if I had known that, I would have kept quiet. I'm just playing. I'm just playing, y'all. Good things come out of Detroit. Detroit means it's love. But it's Fannie Peck. So if you have heard, I know I just jumped right into it, but I'm really excited to talk about this for a lot of reasons. If you've ever heard of Fannie Peck, drop it in the comments if you had. I have never heard of this amazing woman. And yes, it had to be a lady because we are representing hard for ladies. And since we talk a lot about business and networking, this was perfect because Fannie Peck back in the 1930s put together, basically got tired of having to watch women and women of color working in those service positions and not having opportunity and not being able to provide for their families during those times. Obviously, there was a real lull in being able to get food. If you don't know the history of Detroit and that area, first of all, go check that out because it is so powerful. Dayna spoke about it once, and I went down a whole rabbit hole. And so go and check that out just to see how it went from like really, really way up here to struggle. And it's going to get back to its glory days. But this is one of the things that Fannie Peck wanted to touch on. She wanted for her community to have a place to go, and especially women running businesses. So what she ended up doing was, we talk a lot about networking, and that is what this episode is going to be about. She was the first president of the National Housewives League and founder of the Detroit Housewives League. But she also created the Fannie Peck Credit Union, which gave African Americans in Detroit the chance to create financial legacy. One of the things that stood out for me with her was part of this Housewives League was to bring the ladies together who were struggling to find work or being treated unfairly in those service positions, a chance to come together and network and help each other find jobs. And more importantly, we talk a lot about this, education. It wasn't just, hey, come and talk about your job and walk away. She provided and helped build education and literacy for those that wanted to be able to give their family a legacy. So she was super, super amazing woman that I had never heard of, and was like, we've got to talk about it for our last episode of February because it's a big deal, ladies. I know the three of us talk about it privately all the time, and we haven't touched on it in any of our episodes, so shame on us, but we're going to do it today. One of the big things about your business is networking. Something you need to be doing is networking. Dayna is so big on networking, so I know she's going to have a lot to say, but today's episode is dedicated to in honor of Miss Fannie B. Peck, who is an unsung hero that brought something unique to Detroit. And again, go check out Detroit's history because it has a lot of uniqueness that's not being told. And this is just one of them. So tonight we're going to be talking all about your networking, what it means to network, why you need to be networking, how you can do it. And we have a small little plug that may help y'all out if you're looking to network as well. So, ladies, we're going to jump right into it. Why do you need a network for your business? What do you got for the listeners tonight?
Well, I can start off because I guess I found myself in my 30s and going into direct sales or just sales in general. I have to talk to people. I don't like to talk to people. I don't like to put myself out there, and it scares the crap out of me. So, in reading about Fannie Peck, I was like, oh, she's trying to recreate Black Wall Street. She's trying to keep the money in the Black community. I was like, okay, she was doing it, and she was networking all at the same time. And I was thinking, well, if I want to be this same change in my community, because there ain't nobody running nothing like me around here, I need to get out there, get out of my own head, and just do the damn thing. Because I don't. And y'all know how timid and shy I am. But we working on it. Pray for me. Pray my strength. Come on, Dayna. Let's get it, girl.
I love it. Love it. So one thing that I will just kind of start with is, tell me again, what were the dates that she was starting all of this, Tameka?
It started in the 1930s.
1930s. Okay.
Yeah,
so
1930s.
The reason why I think this is super, super monumental and huge is when I think about even finances, and you guys may have a different story, I'm not sure. But it wasn't until like my father's generation that our like people really owning something of their own. Okay. So like I do on my dad's side, like, so I can trace my lineage down to like my slave owner and his mistress, who was, like my great great grandmother or whatever. The slave owner did give some property to her and her children that he had with her. Okay. Which was unheard of for Black people to have, land and own things like that. Other than that, streamline, right? Moving forward, people didn't own things beyond that. Okay. They didn't own property. They didn't own houses. They didn't own. So even like the house before my granny passed, my father owned that house, right? She never owned her own. Okay. Like, because it was so difficult for people to get, people of color to get loans, for them to get finances, for them to be able to have those things to be able to then create. So a lot of times when I look at other cultures or I look at other people and they're sitting up here like, well, the money's here and you can finance here and you can get this there, or we also had our family, right, that invested in us or did this. Like, understand that we are starting off like decades behind, right? So for us, when you're using this lingo and stuff, it's crazy because that's not the foundation we have. So what she was doing in the like 1930s was huge, right? Because it's like, now I'm giving you a space to say, I want to not only own my own things, but I want to create my own businesses, right? And I want to grow and thrive with these businesses. But everybody knows with business, you need capital, right? So you need money. So for her to even just say like, hey, let me show my people how to buy homes, how to, start businesses, how to pay for their kids to go to college and stuff like that is huge. And that is one of the key pieces to networking. And I think so many people miss out on those opportunities because they're so focused on, I got to eat today, right? So they're trying to get that penny today that they miss out on those connections, that education, those resources that actually could propel them for generation after generation after generation and something to actually pass on a legacy. And so when we think like short term, unfortunately, we kind of blindside ourselves, and we lessen our ability to actually grow. And so I'll use like this example because I've networked for many, many years, and I've seen the fruitages of this. I've spoken with a lot of small businesses where they will be like, oh, I can't afford to invest in that networking, right? Or I can't afford not to have my shop open where I can, we'll just use hair, do 3 or 4 heads instead of going to network. Well, understand, you do 3 or 4 heads, and let's say you make, I'm a just for easy math, you made $300 off of them 3 heads. I know you're making way more than that, but you made $300 off of them heads, right? Whereas you could have networked with maybe 50 people, right? And you could have created more clientele that could have given you, let's say, even if it wasn't 50, maybe 10 people, or maybe they know 10 people, right? That could have connected you to longevity. And I think so many times we miss out on that piece of how networking can help, how networking can connect, because we're so focused on that quick money.
Yes, and like you mentioned, the magnitude of what she was doing within the time period. I mean, I know it seems like it's not the 1800s, y'all, it's 1930s, but that's still a struggle time. You have to understand that going into the 60s was still rough. So this is going 30 years back. So you're still talking about huge mountains had to be climbed and were being climbed. And to Dayna's point, um, it wasn't just put this out there, y'all do this, make me look good and turn my back. Like I mentioned, there was education being taught to help the community, like Dayna said, create businesses. They weren't just, sitting together and having, a drink session, which is great, but they were boosting their economy that was like lost, that was being lost, was being pushed away by lines being drawn. They were boosting their own economy. And it wasn't just about keeping, the Black dollar within their community. It was about spending power. It was teaching them how spending power was. And then through a networking piece to that, they actually like buddied, if you will, with the Booker T. Washington Trade Association. So that's at its finest, like not saying, I'm just going to stay to ourselves because nobody's helping us. Let's knuckle up with somebody else and make this thing bigger. This had 10,000 plus members that were, coming together and framing a better future for themselves, for their children, for an economy that boomed and then went away. It just kind of shows you what's possible if you're willing to use the hurdles, those obstacles as positive things for you. And like Dayna said, we got to get out of that instant gratification, because there's very little information about her as an unsung hero. Yes, I know in Detroit, I believe, I read like it's in May, they gave her like a day. And I know it may seem like small fish, but this can be done all over if we can see bigger picture. Dayna mentioned it, and I know it's something, I've voiced to her that I have issue with in my community is we are really stuck on, nope, but I want to make that $300 today or that $400 today. I don't want to have to wait to see the fruits of my labor to 6 months. But what's $300 to tens of thousands later, or helping tens of thousands of people later? We just have to see bigger picture. And it's amazing to see that somebody in a time of deep struggle could see that vision and put things together in a hopes that it would boost an entire city years and years on.
So Dayna, since this is your homegirl from round the way, and she has a special day, like, is there a specific type of way that they celebrate in Michigan or Detroit?
She said, "My home girl from around the way." Like, baby, I wasn't born until 1985. Nah, okay.
I
My home
understand.
girl around the way. Okay. um, as far as celebrations, I'm not sure about that. I know that there's like libraries named after her, and I think that she might have like certain like monumental things. Tameka got the facts more more so than I do probably on that. But I do know, and I will say this without a doubt, I feel like there is a certain entrepreneurial energy that our city has that probably because of like the lives she was touching, probably the trickle effect of what she was doing, left a huge impression. You know what I mean? Like, I joke a lot that like, so a lot of your people that came from the South up to Detroit is because of like the automotive, right? So I always joke they went from the plantation to the plant, right? Because the mentality and ideology is very similar, just to be completely transparent and honest. But I will say Detroit is known for like we got Motown, y'all. Like what Barry Gordy did with music in this small little city, that's entrepreneurship, right? Like that was something that was unheard of. Like, and so many things have developed here. And I believe it is because that entrepreneurship, that having a little bit of that ideology that hey, maybe there's something different and there's a different way of doing it and opportunities that are then presented for more people to do just that.
Yeah, just to add, so in 1950, I found my little notes. Y'all can see my notes. You'll be like, who the heck's supposed to be able to know what that said? But in 1950, Detroit had its own salute for Peck, declaring May 24th was her special day. But to Dayna's saying, there are things named after. Again, go and like read. You can YouTube the history of Detroit and see like it's crazy. And let's just call it what it is. It's things like this being forgotten that has allowed those things to happen. And this is this day. And if nobody's saying, hey, why aren't we making a big deal out of a homegrown celebrity, right? Why are we not doing this? If you're not calling anybody out, nobody's gonna say anything. I mean, they could see the day on whatever, governmental calendar is out there and just be like, well, ain't nobody called it, so we'll move on, we'll keep it going. It's crazy. And it's also like it's saddening to see, because if you go and look, like I said, if you don't like to read, YouTube it. Nothing. I watch some of the YouTube videos, but it is crazy. And I've heard Dayna speak passionately about, how Detroit looks, but where it's been, where it can go. And to actually see that and then to dig deeper and go down the rabbit hole that you may not really want to hear it, but you need to hear it and see it, was just like, it was one of those moments. This was a God moment to have this lady be somebody that we would talk about here, because these things can't be forgotten. They cannot be forgotten, because then you have like decaying buildings and people being like, well, I'm just, gonna do this, instead of tapping into the power that somebody invested in you and has given you this. Yeah, we just can't forget people like that. We can't forget that it's out there and not take advantage. Like, I mean, Dayna said it, and it's funny because I put the quote down that they wrote into a newspaper about her and her day. And in the Michigan Chronicle, it said a whole generation of youngsters in Detroit owe their improved position economically and their presence in a constantly improving community, in part, if not entirely, to the efforts of Miss Peck and those who have been associated with her for the past 20 or more years. So, not knowing, just seeing her name on a board has had such a huge impact, but most people will never know it because we just kind of let it go to the wind. It's not the latest thing, right? So we can't forget those people, and it's important. It's so important. So we talked about networking and how that basically was, the basis of how the Wives League was touched on, let's talk about the root of networking. Let's get to networking. Drop in the comments if you know what networking is. Like, what is networking? What does networking mean? Because I truly believe within my last year and a half or so of using that word and talking to people and trying to create a community of networking for women, I truly believe that us ladies specifically just do not understand what it means to network, what it means to actually do and engage in the activity of networking. So let's talk about that a little bit.
While y'all getting y'all little definitions in the comments, I got one for you. The action or process of interacting with others. Like I told y'all in the beginning, I don't like talking to people. I love people, but I do not like talking to them. And it like pains me. Like it hurts to talk to people, put myself out there. So with direct sales, network marketing, child, I think I got in the wrong profession. Because I mean, I love people and I want to serve people, but talking to them, interacting with them, showing them me being vulnerable, that is scary. Let me know I'm not alone. I'm not by myself. I can't be the only person.
I know you're not alone, but baby, what you want to do? Stare at them?
I give you this. I tell you what to do. You better go do it. Okay. That's it.
You a mess.
Don't ask questions. So can I flip a question on you then, just because for those that can relate to this and they're like, I don't like talking to people, because there's elements of that I will say that are in my personality too. Mm-hmm. But as far as when it comes to networking, what are your expectations when you are walking in a room to network? What are you looking for? What do you want to get out of it? What are your expectations?
Tameka said it one time before. Like, I walk in a room, I want to feel the vibe. I want to feel it out. I'm looking at you, see how you interact with old girl over here. If you went to some mess, I'm going to leave you alone. I don't want nothing to do with you. I just feel it out and see who I feel like I can and can't talk to.
Okay. I would be curious too, those watching in the comments, like what is the outcome you want? When you say, I'm going to go network, I'm going to put myself out there, what is the outcome you want actually to have? And the reason I asked that question is because depending on what outcome you're looking for, you may be disappointed every single time, or you may be extremely satisfied with what happens, right? And so when I think about my journey of networking, so I want to just go back to this space because I think it's important, because a lot of times people will come to me and they'll be like, oh, you're so good at networking. You talk to everybody, yada, yada, yada. Okay. When I first started building a business 8 years ago now, the very first networking event that I attended, I sat in the car hyperventilating for like 15 minutes. I was super early. And my sister had to talk me down into actually walking into the space that I'd already paid to go to, right? So I'm hyperventilating. I'm like, I think I'm going to throw up. I don't know how this is going to work. But then after, taking deep breaths, putting on lots of oils, I was like, what is the outcome I want from this, right? Mm-hmm. For me in that moment, it was just to walk into the building. Mm-hmm. That's it. I wasn't looking for anything else. I just wanted to make the first step to say I've done it, right? So I wasn't looking to like make a sale. I wasn't looking for, I'm going to connect with all these people and I'm going to increase my following on a social media platform. It wasn't, I'm going to convert this to anything. It just was, I am uncomfortable. I don't know what I'm doing. And all I want is the strength to walk in the room and build up my own confidence to be like, okay in my skin. And so I say that to say there's probably some of you on here that are like, I'm terrified to do this, right? I don't know what to expect. I don't know what I'm walking into. And so for you, I would say stop looking for the way over here and understand that there's levels of networking. First and foremost, people have to see you multiple times, okay? Ain't nobody gonna see you one time at an event, remember who you are, and be like, I want to buy everything from you. You are amazing. Look at your social media presence. No, they're not doing that, right? Like they are like, who are you again? When did I connect with you? How do I know you? Like, so to me, if you really, really, really want to build, you have to make networking just as much a part of your business as flipping buying supplies or buying inventory or whatever aspects of your business that matter, because it's going to take some time to get to where you're looking for. And I'll just briefly say this because I don't know I can talk, but like now when I go to networking, I'm still not in this place where I'm like cha-ching dollar sign, cha-ching dollar sign, cha-ching dollar sign. That's not my mentality, because a lot of y'all, I don't want to work with you because you a whole hot mess, and I don't want to have to deal with you. But I don't know that until I network with you, speak with you, and to Andriana, your point, I have to feel a vibe. I have to see like, okay, I see what you're doing. That makes sense to me. Let me connect with you, right? Let me see where we can go from there. So I do think it's super, super important to be crystal clear on what is the outcome I want. And I think so many times people are like going in thinking, I'm gonna go to this networking event and all of a sudden everybody's gonna buy my products. And it's like, nobody knows who you are. Nobody remembered anything about you. No, you're not that relevant, because they were worried about their own stuff too. And everybody were worried about their stuff. So now ain't nobody make no connections and nobody feels benefited.
Girl, I couldn't hit the button just then. I love that. I love the setting the intention and setting yourself up for success, whatever that looks like for you. Like Dayna said, whether it's just getting in the building and standing in a space and smiling pretty, or standing in a corner and, snapping pictures for your stories to say you went, whatever that looks like for you, you have to figure that out. Like, there's no shame if like, I just wanted to pay the whatever amount you paid to be there, walk in the building, stand there. If there's a speaker or whatever, you heard the speaker and then you left. Like, if it's just to get through the door, let it be just to get through the door. I think for me, where I struggle, first of all, I think we're all similar in the sense that I can do it now. Like, I can, like Dayna said, I can talk for hours. We can sit here and talk, and I could talk to nobody, or I could talk to hundreds of people. But there was a place where I couldn't. And even now, before we go live, before I even talk to people that I have relationships with, I still have that like, okay, girl, you got this, you can do this, and then go forward. But I don't walk into, and again, this is about setting the intentions for me. Going into networking events or being a part of a networking event, for me, as cliche as this is about to sound, it's about expanding my network. Like Dayna said, like, I'm not walking into the room and being like, I'm just going to hand you this and I'm going to pitch you on my entire thing and not hear what you have to say. Yes, I'm going to be smart and be like, I'm Tameka. This is what I do. This is what I'm about. This is who I serve, X, Y, and Z. But I want to hear from you. Yes, I may have in the back of my mind, like, you need oils and you need this and this and that, and doing all the things and running the gamut. But I am relational, but I also need my space, like I've done 2 networking events. I'm done for 2 months. Like, I have to recoup. But I think there is, like Dayna's saying, this hot messery of, you go into events and people are treating like vendor events. Like, everybody's got a table and you're immediately trying to sell to me. Like, build a relationship with me. Let's have a connection, because you and I businessly may not be able to work, but we may be able to collaborate in another way where it becomes beneficial for me and beneficial for you. But if you're solely walking into it with just to sell into an actual networking event, there's going to be some disappointment. Like, the 3 of us are in our world, we consider cross line. We don't benefit each other in any way when it comes to our businesses, but this is networking. This is the power of that, and building, a community and collaboration. We all have different points, And at any given moment when people see us or watch these, like it could go either way. They could be hitting Dayna up and being like, yeah, you're my vibe. I want to work with you, or Andriana, or myself.
Make sure you hit me up though.
Yeah. And just because she said that, do not. but that's the fun of it, right? Because it's the understanding that I'm not for everybody, and Dayna may be your cup of tea, and vice versa, or Andriana may, you know what I'm saying? But you have to have that knowledge about self, but also be open to the other side. That really gets me, and it's a place that I struggle with in my area. Is everybody's like, nope, there's not enough space at this table. Like I gotta get mine and forget what you got going on. When it's just like, no, listen, this table is massive. Pull up a seat. Let's talk. Tell me about you. Tell me about your business. Don't sell me on a specific product, but tell me about you. Tell me about your business. How can I help you, or who do you serve? Because maybe you will help me. But I know for me, that switches off if somebody's just like, hey, I do this and do this and do this, and I sell these socks, and it's going to help you. Do you have any problems? Do your feet hurt? And it's like, this just went south. Like, all right, no, my feet don't hurt. But so it's just that understanding, like Dayna said. Be very intentional about it.
I would love to chat at least two more things, and you guys chime in on this. The first one I want to talk about, actually, no, the second one I want to talk about is for those that are watching, for those that are listening, how they can actually benefit, like what is it in it for them. Okay. But before we get to that second one, because y'all got to tune in and make sure y'all still listening to us, before we get to that, Tameka, Andriana, can you guys speak on how you have personally benefited from networking? Like, how has that personally, what results have you personally seen in your own businesses?
For me, this whole thing right here, like Tameka said, this is networking. I've gained 2 friends, I feel like. And then, like, I know I said in the beginning, I don't like talking to people, but I've learned and grown so much this past year since coming into contact with y'all on how to, take a little bit by little bit, because I was one of those people that just, no, you're going to listen to what I got to say. I'm going to sell you these oils. I'm going to sell you these supplements, and then we're going to go about our business. I wasn't trying to make connections. That was the piece that I was missing from the networking, because I was just trying to give you something, and I wanted you to give me something. And that's how it's always been. My daddy, I don't know if he got this out of a Cracker Jack box or fortune cookie, whatever, but he always told me, nobody is going to do this because your name is Andriana. You are one in however many people there are in the world. You are not that special. You my daughter, but you're not that special. Try to talk to people first. And he would always say that because he knew how I was with people. I don't like them, but I felt that. And I tell my kids that people are not going to give you something just because your name is London, Gabby, and Riley. No, you got to work for it. And I need to take my own advice, because I just try to give you something and just go by my merry little way. But what I've gained is the growth to know how to network. And I'd say, yeah, from this past year, that whole thing. Appreciate y'all.
We not friends. I'm just playing. I'm just playing. I love you, girl. I love you. This is one piece, but like on a deeper level, networking for me gave me more of my voice, because it's one thing to be able to sit and, write down what it is that you want to do, where you want to go with your business. It's another to sit in a room full of people, stand in a room full of people, jump on a Zoom call and voice it out loud, and then have people be like, wow, that's amazing, and give you suggestions. So for me, it was a lot of personal business development that I don't even want to say gave me the okay, because a lot of times it was like, just saying it out loud was like, okay, no, that's not going to work, Tameka. Keep stick to this piece. But it did. It opened me up to a lot more mentalities. It helps you to just hone those interpersonal skills. I felt like I've always been somebody that, even when I worked outside of the home, I'm good with people. Like, once people get past whatever intimidating look I have and we have conversations, like I value having relations with people. But this helped me to get out of those, like, those split second, like, maybe prejudices that you have, or when you're judging somebody and you're like, nope, to help to understand and to move forward, and to see how it could be beneficial to tweak things or add things. And it's put me in other markets. Like, I went from, with with an organization that we'll definitely tap on before we say goodbye, but I have friends now in places that, one, I visited or lived in, that I didn't know prior, and I know people in places I've never been. And we maybe don't help each other even businessly anymore, but we talk, and there's been friendships, and there's been, an expansion that has turned into business support because they've recommended me to other people. And as far as business goes, I work in a business where, as long as there is a market or a way for them to get the products, they can get the products. And um that's what I'm here for, to support women who are trying to elevate their health and wellness, and take better care of themselves and their families. And if that means doing it because somebody's like, hey, you got to talk to my girl, I'm here for that.
Nice, 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 nice. And I'll just briefly add, for me personally, like, I know because of networking is why I got on Channel Fox 2 in Detroit, right? I know because of networking is why I've been able to speak on certain stages. I know because of networking is why I've been able to be interviewed on certain podcasts. I know because of networking is why I was able to get expansion for my Kinky Locks book in South Africa and some other places. And so for me, it has been a direct connection that has resulted in money for my business, right? But in a way that I wouldn't have had the foot in those doors had I not just went up to people and said, hello, my name is Dayna. And most of the time, I'll be completely transparent, I served them before I asked, okay? But because I was of service and I did it well, without any, like, when I had an ask or when I knew that the relationship was strong enough, the ask was easy. They're like, absolutely, because you showed up. You've been there. Like, you've been in my corner. You've done the things, right? So I want to just then touch a little bit, and this is for those that don't know, we all are or at some point were associated with an organization called Moms in Business International, right? And one of the things that I love, they actually have these few things, like, what is in it for me? And so I want to talk a little bit about that, because first and foremost, and you cannot put a price tag on this, but you get to grow connections, you get to increase visibility, and you get to build relationships, which is exactly what we talked about today, right? Another thing that is so important to remember is that it takes less than 7 seconds to make a first impression, and even less online. You only get 3 seconds online. So many people have gotten so comfortable online, but it's like you get a couple extra seconds if you're in person, right? With people face to face. When you attend face to face networking, it'll help you build connections much more easily. Okay. People tend to buy sooner and more frequently from people that they know, like, and trust. Networking shouldn't be just until that next event. It should be something that you do on a daily basis. And I think this is where people drop the ball. And this is where I struggled before, because I would pay so much money to network, and I would talk to these people and we would pass out cards, and then we'd never talk again until the next networking event, right? I want you to challenge yourself, right? That's when it makes sense to now connect with people online. That's when it now makes sense to say, hey, do you want to do coffee with me, right? Do you want to meet for lunch, right? Tell me more about your business and what you do. Let me tell you more about my business and what I do. And is there somewhere we can either collab or use each other's platforms? Because it might not be something specific you can use, but you never know who in your audience, one, are tired of hearing of you and would love to hear from somebody else, or two, like directly need that person, right? And if you scratch somebody else's back, when the time comes and they see a need, they're going to turn around and do that for you too.
Yeah, like the saying goes, it's not who you know, it's who the people that you know, who they know, and who they know, and who they know. And that's how it gets bigger. Like your 1,000 people, okay, it's your 1,000 people, but imagine how many people each one of those 1,000 people know. We will definitely drop the links for MIB. MIB is an amazing place, especially it's for everybody, all ladies in all levels of networking, if you will. But I would definitely, if you're just getting started and want to get really serious about flexing your networking muscle, definitely get started with MIB. It is a super safe space. I have not met personally myself somebody within MIB, whether a leader in an area or just an avid networker, that was not welcoming. It is a definitely a place for you to like get your feet wet, kind of, just get used to it. There's so much education that comes with it. It's not just spending your money showing up and, like Dayna said, doing it that one day and then coming back a month later. It's continual education and support if you want it. So if you're ready to flex that muscle or just get back in it or add another piece to what you got going on, definitely grab the links. Dayna is our North American lead. So if you're in a state, a city, a town, a hovel, a hole, whatever you want to call it, that you want to check if they have a MIB or they don't have one, definitely get with Dayna because it's worthwhile having. So y'all, I hope you learned a little bit. You got a little history education. You got a little talking to, because networking is important. Show up, be consistent. Y'all, that's what we got for you tonight. We will see you next Wednesday, same time, same place, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 5 Central. If you don't catch these on the pages, if you're not a big Facebook or wherever you're hearing this fan, you can always click the link, go to the YouTube channel and watch from A to Z. We're not at Z yet, but you can catch my drift. Make sure you share, comment, like, hit the notification bell, turn it. I guess it's gray. I don't know all the things, but do the things, get the notification. Make sure you go and follow each of us. These are our handles so that you don't miss a single thing. If there's any way that we can ever support you in any form or fashion, let us know. Enjoy your Wednesday evenings, and we will see you next week.
Bye, y'all.
Bye, y'all.